A very good morning to all of you. I, Dr. Abhilasha Meena, warmly welcome you all to our keynote session 3 of the International Conference on Emerging Trends and Challenges in Open, Distance, Digital and Blended Learning. This session focuses on a theme that lies at the heart of India's evolving higher education ecosystem, UGC regulations for distance and online learning and the journey towards quality, credibility and learner-centric excellence. As open and digital education expands its reach, regulatory frameworks play a decisive role in ensuring academic rigor, equity, and global alignment. We are privileged to have with us eminent leaders who have shaped policy, institutional practices, and international collaborations in this domain. May I now take this opportunity to formally introduce the leadership of this session. The session is chaired by Professor Santosh Panda, a distinguished academician and a globally respected authority in open, distance, online and blended learning. A former chairperson of the NCTE Government of India, he has held several prestigious leadership roles at IGNOU, NEPA, the Association of Indian Universities, and the University of the South Pacific, Fiji. The session is presided over by Professor Sanjay Mishra, former director of the Commonwealth of Learning. Dr. Sanjay Mishra is a globally recognized authority in open, distance and digital learning. He has been closely associated with the Commonwealth of Learning in advancing policy frameworks, institutional capacity building and quality enhancement initiatives for open and distance education across several countries. May I now introduce our distinguished speakers for this keynote session. Our first keynote speaker is Professor Ghanta Chakrapani, Vice Chancellor, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. As a leader of one of India's premier open universities, Professor Chakrapani brings rich experience in implementing and aligning open and distance learning systems with national regulatory and quality benchmarks. Our second keynote speaker is Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, Vice Chancellor, Central University of Haryana. Professor Kumar has played a significant leadership role in strengthening institutional governance, academic quality, and inclusive higher education. May I please request Professor Panda and Professor Mishra to kindly felicitate Professor Kumar with a token of gratitude, please. Our third keynote speaker is Mr. Rajendra Tripathi, Head Education Programs and Partnerships, India, British Council. Mr. Tripathi brings a global and comparative perspective on quality assurance, international collaborations, and capacity building education. May I again request Professor Panda and Professor Mishra to kindly felicitate Mr. Tripathi with a token of appreciation, please. Thank you so much, sir. May I now request Professor Santosh Panda, sir, our esteemed session chair, to deliver his opening remarks and set the context for this keynote session.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very good morning, friends. This is a very important plenary. When NCT was established, of course, 1995, when it came up. The alma mater that I belong to and my other university, don't mind if I name the university, MD University, Rohtak, and of course Annamalai. Teacher education through correspondence was so loose in a way. Justice Burma Commission, the Chief Justice of India came much later. It was so loose that finally led to NAC's intervention and UGC's intervention that there should be a regulatory body for that. And teacher education was regulated starting 1995 onwards. And today we have what we have. And eventually the Chief Justice of India, Justice Burma, became the architect or the chair of the committee. For the first time, a regulator is being evaluated by the Honorable Supreme Court. That was the Justice Burma Committee. And that was my entry to NCTE, to look into Justice Burma Committee report and reform teacher education. And what we see today, vis-a-vis the those days national education policy was not there. That was 2013-14. In fact, 2011, the Justice Burma Committee report was submitted. So, and what we see in teacher education today, vis-a-vis the national education policy, just teacher education, because it's a professional education. We, long back, when correspondence education was, we are dealing with only distance, open, online, blended, what you call it, then we may deliberate depending on, and we could see that how UGC and NAC, because NAC chairman is present here, NAC director is present here, so it will be an excellent deliberation platform. So nice of you to be present here, because, and don't take it otherwise, we have our own views, but then I was discussing with him how professionally we could proceed. But before that, 2 minutes I'll take, but before that, let me again welcome presiding my colleague, Professor Sanjay Mishra. He was former director, Commonwealth of Learning. He was also in UNESCO specialist over there. And he was also Director SEMCA here in place of, before Professor Sadrat. And our distinguished panelists, Professor Tankeshwar Kumar, an esteemed and very matured scholar, leader in higher education, now Vice Chancellor, Central University of Haryana, because I spent most of my time in Haryana, so therefore my alma mater is Kurukshetra. So, and I have a long acquaintance with Central University of Haryana, but we used to go to the Gurgaon camp office. I have never visited actually the campus, but I understand now the campus is so beautiful today. Mahanagar is a small place. Excellent developments that are happening in Central University of Haryana, but then we will get into the new that is coming up, vis-a-vis HECI, and the present transformations that are taking place in the regulatory mechanisms, vis-a-vis, because we are not dealing with one professional area, we are dealing with general professional education, technical education, pharmaceutical, dentistry, nursing, a whole lot of councils, as you know, they are there, and two ministries, two professional areas, they belong to different ministries. And therefore, because skilling ministry, earlier the Honorable Minister used to be the Minister of Skilling as well as the Ministry of Education. So therefore it was easy. Now it is bifurcated and it will certainly be difficult for two ministries to coordinate. And then we have two different professional areas, very powerful, law and medicine. Medical and law, they belong to two different ministries. And therefore, a regulatory mechanism, because as a university, I have to deal with almost all. And now there is a vertical horizontal mobility between the general and vocational education. And vocational education was parallel. And now we have a system of skills university in the country. Almost 22 plus skills universities are there. So skills university is a different phenomenon. They are under UGC. But the skilling system, NSQF, belongs to Ministry of Skilling and Entrepreneurship. So this is a scenario that a university is an institution that we have to deal with. Professor Ganta Chakrapanji, excellent developments at Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University. And we are now discussing the ODL regulation for distance online and whatever name you would call it. And he would articulate as a presentation, he would articulate that how best that we can address. And a diversified different perspective. I will not say as an outside perspective, but then outside the system perspective. Rajendra Tripathi, Head of Education Programs and Partnership, British Council, would also put up his view. When I was at NCT, we had partnered with TESA, Visabe and others. We had partnered with British Council, and we had to take up the professional development framework. That was very powerful for me those days, the professional development framework of the British Council. Of course, it was for ELT, English language teaching, but then we wanted to bring into teacher education, and TESA was the framework, and Professor Alan Tite was the chief of TESA those days, international chief, and then we tried our best, but we could not succeed in bringing that and accrediting that, and that should be a teacher or teacher educator professional development accreditation system. Now we are talking about the qualifications framework. Now, higher education, National Higher Education Qualifications Framework by UGC, National Skills Qualifications Framework by the Minister of Skilling and Entrepreneurship, AICT and others, and we have a National School Qualifications Framework, and different councils, they are developing their qualifications framework, because teacher professional development is not only teacher, professional development of teachers and a whole lot of people that are involved. It's a teamwork in distance learning and has a lot more to do with the regulation itself. So that is also a component which we might also discuss. So finally, just to give a very brief 30 seconds, that therefore, when correspondence education was there, University of Delhi, 1962, then gradually expanded, then there was a need, something must be done. Then they thought, vis-a-vis UGC, and those, Professor Ram Reddy, who was our Vice Chancellor, he was UGC chairperson, and it was easy. And Sadaji, Professor Bakshi Singh, he was the architect. When correspondence education in University of Delhi started, Sadaji led 3 teams to then USSR. So our 10+2+3 system, school vocationalization, evening colleges, and correspondence education was a direct contribution of the erstwhile Soviet Union. I must make it very clear. So 1962, experimentation of the school started in 1964, school secondary correspondence education started, and correspondence education started. But my understanding was, you said 900 some students yesterday, but I have all through Central Secretariat Documentation Library 1111. That was the number, please. So, I'm sorry, but like, my understanding was 1111 students, and it started with the arts, then science joined in, and that was the beginning of the story. But anyway, so 900 or 1,000, 1,100, but it's a very small scale started, but we could not think of anything, no accreditation for correspondence education. Those, forget about evening colleges, because that was also associated with, because evening college was giving an alternative chance to those who cannot go to the formal system. So Indira Gandhi National Open University took the lead vis-a-vis UGC, because Professor Ram Reddy, Sadaji, Professor Bakshi Singh, that we established the Distance Education Council. Now, Distance Education Council had notice, as usual. So then gradually it was realized that if we look at the self-learning, because that was the mainstay, the self-learning material, even today, the self-learning material, up to 60% they have to be developed in-house, and all kinds of things that happen. Self-learning material, we could examine them and then say, we are giving a recognition, we are not doing an accreditation. So now recognition, accreditation, they were bifurcated. So we are simply recognizing to proceed further. And recognition is no statutory or legal. Accreditation is. So therefore, from recognition, it went on. Then the process of accreditation started. When NAC was being established, Professor from Pune, huh? Professor Nick, our old friend. Professor, I was at AIU director in 1994. So, Association of Indian Universities. So, and Professor Takwele was IGNOU Vice Chancellor, and IGNOU Vice Chancellor is the chair of the Distance Education Council. So, we developed, in fact, sir, we developed the first document. We never knew what is accreditation, what is quality assurance, no kinds of things. Then we developed the first document sitting in one room. Madam Lata Pillai was provided from UGC to provide support, who is now Vice Chancellor. So we developed the first document of NAC. And we never thought that distance learning, online was not there. Distance learning, correspondence, and these things should also find a part of that. No, this is the first time that we're thinking about a quality assurance system, and we borrowed from the American system. It should be autonomous, a diversified process, but also a British system, which should also be ranked. Later on, it became there's an A double plus, and I was talking to Director Naxar. Now it is a binary system. We are getting into binary, but then gradually we're also getting into a qualitatively processed system. If there is an intervention, NAC Director sir will intervene what is coming up. So Distance Education Council got into a threshold of an accrediting process. And a whole lot of quality assurance developments and all took place. Then the Open University Vice Chancellors, they joined in. If we have an UGC accreditation, UGC regulation accreditation system, how the open distance learning system could also form part of that. Then a separate open distance learning regulation was developed at IGNOU, Distance Education Council. Then I'll not get into the developments, and finally it again came back. It started with UGC, went to IGNOU, then now it came back to UGC's Distance Education Bureau. Now, Distance Education Bureau has the full authority because this is under UGC, and therefore the full teeth. Regulator is a teeth. But for me, regulator is a hand holding. It's a beautiful hand to hold, actually. No, regulator must have a stick and all kinds of things. So I'm just throwing this because this versus hand holding, this is a very important dimension of professionalism, professionalization, and ensuring quality in our teaching, learning, and whole diversified learner support and kinds of things, including assessment and now technology, kinds of things are there. So up to 2022, as I understand, the revised regulation is in place. We had NCVT Chairperson Committee, Sadaji, Dr. Kalsi Committee was there, is still there, as I understand, that to reform. Now the national education policy has come up. It talks about multidisciplinarity, multiple entry, and all kinds of things. And then 2023, we have the National Credit Framework, which is one nation, one credit framework in the country, starting from preschool education to postdoctoral, one credit framework in the country, which is well defined. And within that, so there was a question of parity of esteem between distance, online, or whatever you call, old correspondence, vis-a-vis the regular system. Now, when the national, a few things to deliberate. The National Credit Framework says nothing doing, one nation, one credit. So student learning outcomes, irrespective of the modes of delivery, are defined. Point number one. We have to achieve the student. It is an outcome-based, learning outcome-based curriculum framework. Of course, it was done in CBCE, choice-based credit system, CBCS, choice-based credit system. You might have applied that. 3-year undergraduate program. Now the 4-year undergraduate program, 1-year masters, and so on and so forth. So one credit framework to be followed by all. Point number one. Point number two, that there is no distinction between any delivery modes. I'm not sure the present practice. The University of Delhi used to write, no school of correspondence course, they are a correspondence guy. As in the morning of the inauguration, it was also discussed that there's still an apathy for somebody who has come out of distance education. Of course, in diversified discipline areas, the correspondence, old Principal Rudhardat, our old friend, and today's distance online students are getting gold medal in the University of Delhi. How do we explain that? So therefore, point number 2, that any delivery mode, all delivery modes are equal, and there should be a seamless credit transfer across all delivery modes. Up to 40% of credit hours that UGC has allowed in its regulation that the students can take from online platform SOIL. Up to 40%. Of course, no student is taking 40%. So up to 40%. So first, that there is one credit framework in the country. We depend on the learning outcome irrespective of the delivery mode. 2, that across the board, any delivery mode or all delivery modes are equal. 3, that there is a seamless credit transfer not only within the country but also outside the country, up to 25% outside the country. We can have a joint degree program or a dual degree program. So given this framework, and there is a third point that I would submit to consider, that we have now a skilling parallel system, but now it is an integrated system. So general vocational education, vertical horizontal mobility is seamless. That one can shift from vocational to general, general to vocational, and so on and so forth. It is possible. Everything is legal. And the student can take a degree from where a 50% of the discipline core credit is done. The rest 50%, meaning thereby, the student can take from 3 sources. 1, from a cluster college which is within the city. I can take an evening class. I can take a dual degree from the cluster college. 2, I can take from SOEM up to 40% credits. 3, that I can take distance online learning. And therefore, it is not surprising that in IGNOU, that the course-wise registration number has increased because the students from Delhi University and elsewhere, they're taking either a course from there or taking a full degree, a second degree from IGNOU. It's also very much possible. And within, not to single out, within the University of Delhi, if I'm studying through a face-to-face, can I do a distance learning program within the Delhi itself? Because 2 degree programs are allowed. Regulation must address that. So therefore, given the national, and final point that I was trying to make is recognition of prior learning. The starting from an agricultural labor who is in the unorganized labor sector, more than 80% of the labor force is in the unorganized sector. 15 to 20% are in the organized labor market in our country. So recognition of prior learning, somebody who is an agricultural laborer would like to do in agriculture, primary, elementary, secondary, old pattern, senior secondary, undergraduate, postgraduate, and a PhD should also be recognized based on the experience that he or she has. Today, a plumber can do starting from primary up to PhD. That's our National Skill Qualifications Framework. Somebody said, PhD in plumbing? Yes, a plumber can do PhD. Of course can do PhD. That's the system. So recognition of prior learning, we used to call this earlier accreditation of prior learning. So given these, that National Education Policy 2020 is there, National Credit Framework, One Nation, One Credit, outcome-based learning, applicable to all across the board of these 2 different ministries of medical and law, equally applicable. This is agreed, passed in the parliament. Given these, now I would request to deliberate on the regulation, which is still 2022, with little modifications here and there. And now there is a committee, 2025. We are looking forward to my personal discussion with Siddhaji, Professor Kalsi, is that 2 things that they are seriously considering: skilling and employability, which is a major concern today. In fact, the concern. National education policy, if we talk about, there are 3: curriculum reforms, pedagogic reforms, theory into practice, 50-50, 50 theory, apply 50%. That's the credit distribution. And number 3 is the skilling and employability part. So given this scenario, they are thinking that how skilling and employability and online can be converged together within a framework. You could call it distance online learning, and we would call it a blended learning framework, because the whole higher education has gone blended, by the way. So given this, I would request Dr. Misra to kindly proceed with a brief remark to proceed and conduct this session, please.
Thank you, Professor Panda, for the brief remark. I welcome you all to this session. Especially, we are honored to have distinguished persons in the audience for this session because it's very important. Especially, Professor Kannabiran is there from NAC, and we have our esteemed speakers, 3 of them here, lined up for the deliberations. What we will do is to first listen to the esteemed speakers, and then we will open up for a few questions from the audience so that the esteemed keynote speakers can respond. And of course, Professor Panda is there. He might also interject in the question answer sessions. And at the end, I will be trying to give a summary brief along with my own remarks on the UGC regulations and what are the key points that are being practiced right now with this 108-page English Hindi, making it about 54 pages, which is so huge. The size is bigger than the constitution of some countries. We need to really deeply reflect into what are we doing as an academic within the perspective of NEP 2020. So, and then of course we'll close the session with a final remark by our esteemed chair. So if that order is okay with my esteemed keynote speakers. We have some amount of time today because right now it's 10:15, so I don't want to restrict the speakers, but I know they will be on trying to manage the time themselves. But with that, I think I would request Professor Chakrapani to start the presentation that he has.
Thank you, Professor Panda and Professor Sanjay. In fact, good morning to all. Thank you, University of Delhi, and also distinguished education leaders, ODL leaders assembled here. As Professor Panda said, this session is very crucial because we are going to discuss various aspects of our regulatory system as far as ODL and online education is concerned. Anyway, we have a very highly reputed chair, both president and chairperson. Recently I got an opportunity to contribute a chapter on ODL, and particularly my own university, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, India's first open university, in their handbook of open universities around the world. So I have a confidence that my editor always there, and he will edit whatever I present here today. Friends, my title of my presentation is UGC Regulations for ODL, Journey Towards Quality or Control. Here, yes, generally in academic presentations there will not be any disclaimer. But I am putting a disclaimer here because Kannavirans are there. Maybe my presentation little bit critical towards the existing system. As a practitioner of distance education over 32 years, from first open university of this country, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University, and also for the last 1 year interacting with different university vice chancellors as a vice chancellor and also as general secretary of consortium, not consortium, Association of Indian open universities, state open universities. And of course now I got another thing, and also I'm executive council member of Asian Association of Open Universities. Considering this 32 years experience and practice and observations, I'm just presenting as an individual. This presentation should not reflect on my university and other things. Here the image is, the horse is trying to fast forward, but there are many chains and many controls to that. Yeah, friends, generally the distance education philosophy, of course, openness. Again, I take a reference of Sanjay Mishra, Professor Sanjay Mishra, who really articulated the openness in very elaborative way in his works. The openness and open university is known for flexibility. Flexibility of time, flexibility of place, flexibility of pace, and the entire control over this activity is under own control of a learner. That means a learner can complete or join or continue his course anytime, anywhere, with his own pace and speed. And the second aspect of character of open learning and its philosophy, the open learning is learner-centric, not teacher-centric. It encourages total autonomy, self-directed learning, and he can choose whether to write or not, and he can take 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. I mean, it was the open kind of system. And it is independent learning of a learner. And the basic philosophy is the openness. When we started our university, the university is named as Sarvatrika. Sarvatrika Vishwavidyalaya, that means it's open university. Open in the sense not Khula Vishwavidyalaya. Open is universal university. I mean Sarvatrik, everywhere, to everyone, at any time. That is the philosophy of, Sarvatrik.
Just to intervene, sir, IGNOU was defined in Hindi. Indira Gandhi खुला बोला मुक्त विश्वविद्यालय. वो बोले कितने खुला, फिर उसको बोले मुक्त कर दो.
Yeah, the literal true translation says it's Khula University. But we used the term, Sanskrit word, Sarvatrika Vishwavidyalayam. So the philosophy is openness. It removes all barriers, entry barriers, and age barriers, qualification, location, gender, and prior knowledge and prior study qualification, and it will not have any minimal requisites and minimum qualifications to enter open. That was the philosophy of open education when it started 45 years ago. It is universal access, and the goal of open university in the world as well as in this country is inclusive. It should be inclusive, and because in India there are a lot of, several hurdles in society to pursue higher education as an individual. If you are a woman, there are certain barriers, and if you are according to your community, caste, and there were several restrictions in this country to go to Guru and Gurukula. This was the history. This Mukta Vishwavidyalaya jo hai, we thought it will vimukta everybody, and it will give equal access to everybody. That's why we made this university system as inclusive system and directly addressed to disadvantaged communities such as working class, rural populations, economically and socially disadvantaged groups, and non-traditional learners. So this was the idea of Open University, and later, of course, SDG 4 and flexible learning pathways and entry and exit all age groups. This aligned with, our philosophy of open learning. Here, there are 4 established pillars of Open University. Everybody knows about that, those pillars. One is open to people. So for the idea of this open to people is no entry qualifications, universal access regardless of background, age or prior study, open to places anytime, anywhere, open to methods, flexible pacing and flexible media and flexible delivery systems, and learner can choose his time to complete the program, and open to ideas, freedom to offer any knowledge domain. If just earlier in his introductory remarks, as chairman said, if a agriculture, a farmer, if he want to know and shape his knowledge in a scientific way, he can take agriculture and that course, he can excel in that, and he can apply again to the field. I mean, that is the open to idea. If that same farmer, if he want to know about fertilizers and pesticides, he can take that kind of program and course. Or the same farmer, if he want to know the market and market related activities, he can take any kind of such kind of business. The original philosophy of open education is that. Friends, this is not a kind of new to only India, and we have not invented the wheel. And earlier there was a wheel and which is rotating for the last 7 decades or 5 decades if you go back to Europe and UK. And in UK they started this, open system, open university system with the same 4 pillars. And the founding vision of UK Open University or the Open University is accessible higher education for workers, working adults, rural populations, traditionally excluded groups without any barriers. And the model, they started with paper and print and then radio and TV and with the flexible timelines, credits and everything. And they have achieved quality. The quality measured in UK Open University, I think yesterday also there was some presentation from UK. There, it's a London university, and the highest, they measure with student satisfaction. Student satisfaction is highest measure for them. And excellence, discipline specific excellence can be measured. And of course, government, do their own job, but it's not as, again, Panda said, it is hand holding, not handling in different way. And the impact is UK Open University inspired hundreds of open universities, several countries and continents. And now with that model only, Professor G. Ram Reddy, our founding Vice Chancellor, and of course founding Vice Chancellor of IGNOU, he started implementing, experimenting Open University. And here even today, the Open University of UK is getting support from the government. Please make note of this point. And the second model is, China model. Generally in India, China model means, we underestimate, otherwise in manufacturing and other ways. But, entire world is imitating China. They are following China. Even our 50% of, GER 50 is borrowed from China. Not only that, in every aspect. It is a huge scale of university. That scale is like, we can't reach to that scale. So far, they have, graduated 69.25 millions. It's a huge. And the policy, China education policy is very typical kind of policy. I worked on China and China economy in 20 years back, and I have visited China several times, and every time I surprise myself, by seeing their technology growth and their policy update, and also the implementation of their policies. As far as the education policy is concerned, I mean, they handle total direct control of government. There is no private players in this field particularly. And also, they started their education in 70s. Same UNESCO guided everyone, and they took the lead in 79, and they started, earlier there was correspondence courses there also, and they started CC, Central Television University, Radio and Television University, and then Open University in 2012, and then again they shifted to digital ODL, and in 2020 about a quarter of total, outcome of China is from open universities, and there are similar systems, dual mode universities and exclusive open university like IGNOU, National Open University, and every state also encouraged to have open universities. They are working under direct control of ministry and as a single platform, not different levels. Now very interestingly, they opened iCourse platform. There they placed 20,000 online courses. Just to believe, look at the scale they operate. 20,000 online courses from almost 195 countries. People enroll. We don't allow our neighbor to enroll in our university, but they are encouraging entire world to enroll with them, and they are encouraging even video classes, total video courses also, video programs also. That is 992 video courses they are offering, and 2,884 shared video courses also offered over there, 3,842 online courses. And here we always, mistaken, though including our regulatory bodies, what is online, what is digital, and what is other kind of courses. We use common word to everything that we can discuss sometime later. And now, believe me, I think Asha Kanwar and our Sanjay sir colleague in Commonwealth of Learning, she joined there as a consultant for Smart AI. She's an Indian, of course, worked IGNOU and later COL. Their smart education is transforming, in a way, revolutionizing entire Chinese education system, including open universities. They have developed a national level platform. That platform is meeting millions and billions of learners. So even now, the entry is open, it is flexible, adults, multiple entry pathways and everything, recognized, the previous work and workplace learning, and programs also diverged into different fields. I'm sorry to say, all fields including engineering, health, law, education, and all sciences are offered through distance and online education. There is no bar. And they have top-up degrees also. If you have some knowledge, you can top up, 2 credits, 5 credits, right, 16 credits, and you can upgrade your degree. So this kind of, system has existed. They're shining like anything. So of course, everybody knows this. Just I would like to skip this slide. And here, how India's regulatory framework evolved. That also, I think, part of it, our chairman has briefed you, how DEC is formed under IGNOU, how they try to handhold, promote, guide the sister open universities. Though the state open universities criticized the monopoly of IGNOU during that time, but still, they really, an academic leadership they extended to all state open universities. Later in 2012 and of late, DEB attached to UGC, the Distance Education Bureau, they started their bureaucratic way of dealing with education institutions. There the problem has come. And here, and 2017 regulations of DEB, they banned certain professions, I mean some professional courses, fields, and certain areas. And also later, in fact, the pandemic, it liberalized all the channels of education actually across the world. But unfortunately in India, it restricted the, expansion of education. If you look at 2020 regulations, you will find that serious kind of restrictions were evolved during this period. Yes, restriction in, of course, entry. Everybody is talking about, entry for the last two days. And particularly, earlier we used to have institutional eligibility test. All open universities used to conduct ET, eligibility test, a kind of testing prior knowledge in a way. I mean that after, anybody without any proper formal degree also can appear the test. And believe me, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University used to conduct, if you issue notification, almost 1,50,000, just allow me, don't restrict here. Fine. So that entrance test, that's totally, sheltered, and there was no entrance test. Okay, fine. Yes, this is also I'd like to skip because, this also I'd like to skip because everybody knows about this. Then, oh, sorry, yeah. Yes. Fine. Yeah, if you compare systems, of course, they are very liberal. And unfortunately here, we have multiple masters to, handle open universities. Like, for somebody who is a convicted or, committed some, grave mistake, an interrogation officer is different, and inquiry officer is different, and the psychometric officer is different. Here, we have to go through all the tests. If I want to introduce B.Ed program, I have to go to, NCT and get approval. And NCT gives, blanket permission if you satisfy their thing. But again, after getting NCT permission, again every year you have to apply for DEB and pay some fees, and then DEB will conduct some meeting, and if they satisfy, then only they approve the course. The same with MBA, and the same with special education, Rehabilitation Council of India will be there, and they do all the things, and they give. If you enroll 100, you pay this much. If it is 500, this much. 200, this. As if it is a kind of bank and commission agent. They are handling in that way. That is my primary objection. Of course, the next is how the difference between global open university system. Of course, we discussed. It is all aspects in that way, and it is hampering democratization, the fundamental idea of ODL. And a very important principle for India is equity in higher education. These two are very fundamental, especially to India when you compare to Western and other societies. But this system of present existing system is hampering the interests. Here, just briefly, I'll tell you, it is somehow working against NEP. NEP 2020 says there should be universal access and equity, and lifelong learning it encourages, and multiple entry and multiple exit allows, and it promotes flexible learning pathways to increase GR 50 by 2035, and stressed use of ODL online. Whereas the ODL 2020 regulations, if you look at it, every time they mandated several conditions. One is territorial jurisdiction limit, program-wise approval, and restrictions on professional programs, graded autonomy framework, autonomy, of course, of accreditation framework, and multiple regulatory clearances, heavy compliances documentation. Very recently, for the last 2 years, all universities are facing huge problem, not B.R. Ambedkar Open University, with the day by day. Already we have APAR ID, and again every student who want to join in Open University, again he has to register. 40% of students, they are unable to log in and register. This is seriously discouraging the rural and first generation students in a way. I mean, these are the serious concerns. Of course, a lot of other things are there. If you want to start a course in some college, I mean, wherever there is same degrees available, you have to start the course there only. Earlier, sir, with the support of Commonwealth of Learning in 90s, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University started science programs in tribal areas where there is no college. BSc program where there is no degree college. Commonwealth of Learning supported us by giving a mobile laboratory where our teachers used to go to tribal areas and do practicals there, explain everything to students. I mean, now if you want to start a science program, the same degree college should have science program and the same teacher has to teach. Then where is the expansion? If the same place where the same kind of education facility is there, if you want to start there only, how can it is called as a parallel education? That is one issue. So here, just 2 minutes, sir. My observations, the regulation should be on outcome basis, not access basis. When you're accessing, if you restrict, I think total mission is failed. And it must enable lifelong learning, support adolescents, of course we discussed all that, and remove territorial program barriers, permit regional mediums nationwide. Suppose in Delhi, we have 5 lakh Telugu speaking people. They want to upgrade their knowledge. Somebody is working in parliament and somebody is in some newspaper or somebody in AP Bhavan. They want to go through, they continue their education. It is not allowed. I mean, they have to come to Hyderabad and admit there and write exams there. No, this kind of practice is restricting. And similarly, sir, from South India, of course, North India also, millions of people are working in Gulf. I mean, they are writing hundreds of letters. I'll get every day at least, half a dozen letters and a dozen letters requesting extend the education facility, and they'll come and write the exam here later, but you permit us to go through, join or that kind of, or conduct examinations there. It is not permitted. Only Telugu speaking people in Gulf are around 50 lakh. But we are unable to reach them. Similarly, in Chennai or in some other way, every migrant should get that kind of education accessibility. That is my second recommendation. And also, find others like, the restrictions and bans. You allow and, you thoroughly, verify their credentials and everything, and assessment can be taken as a final kind of thing. So these are the major issues. And now the call for action is, through this forum, I'd like to, anyway, consortiums is a good idea. I really appreciate University of Delhi for bringing out that kind of a concrete proposal. Earlier we had APOU, All Public Open Universities Association, Association of Public Open Universities. Similarly, these consortium should start a collective advocacy and regulatory burden. We have to document it and submit to the UGC. And in India, unfortunately, lobbying is very important. Today, I sent my 2 colleagues to UGC and RCI to get permissions, by, answering their complaints and everything. And the collective lobbying is always good. Lobbying is not a bad word. After all, for betterment of policy, every government will lobby. So even these consortiums also feel ODL is first. Institution is first. Not our leaders, not our parties, not our ideologies. ODL is the main kind of thing. And for nation, GER is first. So we have to move in that direction. And one submission to this forum, and also Payalji, we have to write a letter to the present new regulation committee, as well as even HECI, the proposed HECI. There should be a separate vertical for ODL. I mean, otherwise, again you have to go and stand before somebody who doesn't know about the practice and philosophy of ODL. I mean, we have to request the government to create like NCT and others. No, there should be a kind of independent body, because we are reaching hundreds of universities and millions of students. So that is one thing I'd like to. And also, there is no grant, even though you get A plus or A plus plus, and grants are now for the last 4 or 5 years, no grants from the government. In China, total expenditure is borne by the government. In UK, government support is there. But for open universities, even my state government also says, oh, no, you are self-generate, you have rich man, you can earn your own money. I mean, sometimes some open, distance education, probably Delhi school, they are in position to support you in Delhi University. I mean, so that they are feeling you have money. I mean, that doesn't mean if the state money is coming, then regulatory power will be definitely, responsibility will increase. At least, a national level kind of consortium on IT and artificial intelligence and other tools, it should come. The goal is finally the goal is Vikasit Bharat. We are saying Vikasit Bharat through a liberal enabling regulation of ODL to convert access to human capital and human capital into national development. That definitely ODL is going to help in the direction of Viksit Bharat. As our Prime Minister, Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi said, education is not limited to classrooms or degrees. It is a powerful tool of transformation. It shapes thinking, strengthens participation. With this, I stop here. I think anyway we have some time to discuss further. Thank you. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Chakrabarty. I think without taking much time, I would request Professor Kumar, esteemed Professor Kumar, to share his thoughts on UGC regulations on distance and online learning towards journey of quality.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I have been told that my time has been taken by previous speakers, so I will be restricting to, because obviously I have not prepared PPTs for it, because so that gave me the freedom, and I also see that lot of things has already been said. Okay. I see a lot of things has already been said about the ODL regulations in the country, and I will covering some of the aspects which are not already covered. Maybe it may be covering some of the suggestions, because I have been told that some of the experts or some committee has already been set up to include various things which are happening on the regular courses or regular programs in the country, to include in the ODL regulations. And we have NAC director is also, I have some critical views about it. Using the NAC accreditation results for the distance education. So I will be conveying today that also. So if, for example, if I look at, NEP, first thing I look at is to see that we have such a system where our students gets the degree with some kind of a skill so that they are employable or they can make their own business to become entrepreneur. So that means we want that our students should have some skill whenever or whatever the degree they get. So the same way, we are also looking at our GER should go to the 50%. As I said that it is impossible because we should have maybe 3 times the university as we have at present. But there is always a solution if you look at things differently. Because if I look at the utilization of my infrastructure as a university, I will find I'm not using even the 50% of it. I know if I increase number of students, I will be, crossing all possible limits, whatever comes under the NIRF, or NBA, or NAC. That is looking at the maximum score is to 1:15, right? Why we have such a kind of thing when we looking for our more and more students would graduate, and presently when we also saying over 40% of the students can also look through the MOOCs or looking at what we said that we will even the ODL programs could be also on the basis of the course. Different courses could also be launched inside of the programs, right? So essentially, we should see that what can also be done in this respect. And we also see that if we increase our GR in offline courses, but what about the distance learning courses? We have, the various restrictions in the regulations. We also say that if we really have to, institutional, those who want to give online courses, the NAC score should be greater than 3.01, and NIRF in top 100, NIRF are in the top 100 overall, if they want to start the course without, DEB provisions, right? So that is also, is a very, for me it's very dangerous, because distance education is not just we are starting the distance education because we want to provide the education. It has become a source of income. It's a great source of income for the private institutions, right? So the private institution would like to, have the score as per, the requirement of this parameter, right? So that is the one of the things that why they want to have this score. Because otherwise, if I look at, because I have been associated with the NAC for more than 20 years or so, but from the very beginning itself. So now the NAC score has become, a tool for getting for example, the ODL courses and all other things, right? So the NAC was, essentially was there to see that the students gets the benefit. Students come to know which university is better, what kind of things they are better. They have the access to the report of the NAC, which was put on the website. So now if we start giving something on the basis of their scores, then the things become differently, because we know we are better manipulator. We are better manipulator. We will manipulate the regulations, rules we make, right? So we should not do that. And secondly, if you look at, there are various things which are, we have introduced ourselves. For example, under the NEP, we have introduced NCRF, right? National Curriculum Framework, and every student has to go for the internship for the 6 months. And under the regulations, we say that the syllabi for the regular and for the distance has to be the same. Right? If it has to be the same, where will I put my DEB students or the ODL students for the internship? Can I do that? Can I do, this is getting, we are getting some problems out of it, right? Because how, the ODL students can be given the internship and how we can have the equivalent degrees, right? Equivalent degree. It has to, maybe we have to do something about it. Maybe it's just a future problem, right? And I remember, I was from a university, very old university, older than the, more than 100 years old. So you can imagine that university was pre-partition or the pre-independence, right? So there we used to have, for the girl students, we used to allow them as a private candidates, right? Madam is sitting here, private candidates, but they were not the students of the, ODL or the distance learning program. We used to call it the correspondence courses, right? They were not students of correspondence courses, but they could appear directly in the examination. For the girl students from the area where there was no college present for the girls students, right? So that is the kind of the, the freedoms that the universities used to have. I just want to say the university proposed such a thing for the girl students of its own state, right? That they can do this, right? So we have the various regulations, but we make regulations sometime, to basically to curb some bad practices. But it sometimes leads to, right? So that is, giving the freedom to the higher education institutions, and, I will say the good institution, but the good institutions is, we are now determining through our accrediting agencies, either NBA or, it could be Times Higher Education or the QS, that's, and that through also we look at, the online methods, and I am from computer science, so I know that you give me any way of doing the things, within 2-3 years, I will find out how to manipulate that, how to manipulate those parameters, right? So any parameter you give me, I will be able to give this manipulation things within the 3 years, right? So that is a thing, that may be a theory about the parameters through the online methods. So if we look at, as Sir was saying, that there are universities floating about 25,000 online courses. What is the harm in it? There is no harm. If the takers are there, then there is no harm. Right? The takers has to, because I always say that online method is not a method, but it is very good for those who really want to study, those who want to take it, right? It is not for those where you really want to reach, right? If you want to reach to the person that who is not aware of what is UGC. As Sir was also saying, there is some DEB registration number for, curbing some practices which, so there's now students still getting the degrees, right? Degree should not have meaning. In fact, the skill the person has should have the meaning, right? So what we started is that DEB registration is compulsory. So that makes the digital divide, really I will say the digital divide, because maybe our time was different. I came to know only about the UGC when I qualified NET examination. Then I came to know my UGC is there. Otherwise, I qualified MSc. I was not knowing that there is IIT also. Unless until I reached some shop where I see that there is a bookshop and it says the IIT entrance. So then I look at the book, right? So, there is still I see the digital divide is there. If I say that you have to first register on the UGC site and then go to then go for the course registration or the program registration for online. So that still divides. And there was also, earlier there was a time when, we used to say, अरे यहाँ you have this, यहाँ पर कोई बैंक मिलेगा, कुछ मिलेगा, नहीं मिलेगा, नहीं, मारुति का स्टेशन मिलेगा, yes मिलेगा. Used to be ad in the newspaper. Then I joined a university, open university. Then we say Maruti station मिलेगा, नहीं मिलेगा. यहाँ उस university का study center मिलेगा, you say yes मिलेगा. Study center used to be there. All of the university, all of the country was having those study centers of the same university. Maybe few universities were there. So that practice was, abolished. And then what happened, something happened is that geographical areas of that university will be the area for the distance learning, right? And within that, and I know I from Haryana, and then this parameter was there that A-class universities will get the ODL, and the jurisdiction was limited. So we find that within Haryana we have, it's a very small state, otherwise we have 25 districts maybe now. And that time we realized that out of 25, including even the Gurugram, where you have the capital airport, India's capital airport, that area was, void of distance education. Now, IGNOU could be there, but no university in Gurugram was A grade. It's still there, not even, it's not NIC accredited. And there is nothing in the Rewari, there is nothing in the Mahendragarh. It's only recently I got the ODL from my university. And that area was without any ODL facility. We were not having a centers. So our students was debarred from even the distance education, right? Because you can do it, but as some said, that you cannot, our students will not approach to a university where there is no center. Girls are not able to come to the, Delhi for giving the examination. So, you have to really make things, and you have to really go to really deep to when you, I will say, Dharatal pe jana chahiye when you make the regulations. So regulations we make, and you have to really analyze it. Right? You give those regulations for the analysis. Now the VBSA has come up, right? Viksit Bharat Shiksha Adhishtan, which I have already, attended 2 programs to discuss those VBSA. So that discussion is going on. There are certain things which you are still, people say, that is not a point, but all those things, as Sir has said, that NCT now has the ODL program. Then I used to conduct the admissions for the B.Ed and then we used to conduct the entrance test. Entrance test we have, for example, more than 800 seats, but we have 700 candidates, but we still conducted the test. Everyone passed, right? Everyone passed. So, but we have made the rules, and we still continue, that's, but this such kind of thing, because a B.Ed cannot be made, and admission cannot be made without the entrance test, right? And obviously there are various things, people misuse out of this. People won't say that it is MBA program, right? They say, well, it's an executive MBA. Right? Executive MBA, they will still run it. Because for MBA, you have to take from the AICT and all those things, right? And now you have AI. I give you a tool. It's a wonderful tool. You have made a policy, you can also get it analyzed. It can give you the nonsense. It can tell you that where are the flaws. So if you ask me, if you ask your ChatGPT even, that how I can misuse regulation of DAB, it will tell you. It will tell you, I have with my at least up to G and that, right? Yeah. So that's just I put it on today morning while coming to this. So some even foreign universities you can join hands, right? And there are various things, you know, marketing through foreign university, offering prohibited programs quietly, state private universities you can join through, you can take the other centers, you know, you can join with you can take the SLM of certain you know, well-defined universities, so then you can join hands with them. So the various things, you know, when you make the regulation, you can, you know, always think of how those could be, you know, regulated and how those could be manipulated. And I just, should I stop, sir? Huh? Yeah, no, I have a list, but you know, I don't want to, because I have said my important point, because I have listened to most of the things, important things, and I can talk about all these things if somebody really want to discuss, because our purpose is to essentially make the regulations which are, you know, at least should be good for the takers, and we should also see that it is not manipulated by the people, you know, those who just want to make money out of it, right? Make money out of it, and that when you are greedy, so your greediness can lead to the things which are very harmful, right? So that is what I think we should keep on doing, and it is we have seen that how things have been evolving in the UGC, DB, DEB, and NAC, and all those things. You know, it's we are all trying to improve the system, but you know, sometimes some loopholes are there. People come to the level that they find out the way that how to manipulate it. So the manipulation things, you know, we should see that how can be avoided. So with these words, I am really thankful to giving me the opportunity to discuss some points on the distance education program, which I have learned through my experience. I have been in 3 universities, Punjab University, Guru Jambeshwar, and Central University of Haryana, where the ODL program has been there from the very beginning. And thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you, Professor Kumar, for highlighting some key issues and advice for avoiding greediness in the system, and of course sticking to the time frame. With that, I would request Mr. Tripathi to make his presentation and share his valuable thoughts.
Distinguished panelist and chair of the session. This session actually reminds me, I used to sit where a lot of youngsters are sitting on the other side, and sometimes it can be difficult, you know, when you have your professors who are on the same panel as you. So I take this as a very, very important opportunity to talk about what British Council has been doing in this area. And my compliments to Dr. Kanabiran, who's been a very, very able collaborator, Dr. Payal Mago, to set up this conference, to design a space where we can talk freely about how do we see the role and contribution of online and distance learning education in shaping the core sort of priorities that India has today, which has been outlined by Honorable Prime Minister, that we want to be a superpower. We want to see our educated and skilled workforce contributing very, very ably to the national development priorities as well. I want to lay down a couple of things before this August audience in terms of how we are seeing as an international organization the role of online education, the role of online and distance and blended education in today's times. Very recently, both Honorable Prime Minister Modi and Prime Minister UK, Keir Starmer, they were in India and they signed a very, very landmark and historic agreement between both countries, the India-UK Vision 2035. And for the first time in the history of the bilateral engagements, education was given a standing distinction in terms of a separate pillar, which means that education was a key core area of sort of focus between both countries. And within that, if I had to talk about internationalization of higher education was an important area, which was very, very high priority, which was enlisted in the UK-India Vision 2035. The vision talks about how does education has to sort of evolve itself by international collaboration, by internationalization of higher education. And at British Council, we work very closely with regulatory bodies, with university networks, and also with student bodies and networks. So we feel that the role of online and distance learning education is going to be very, very transformative. And there is a great amount of experience that we, from UK can share and be a partner of choice with India in terms of shaping the destiny of India's destiny in terms of being a superpower in education. When we talk about online and distance education, I had my fellow colleague Linda, she was here yesterday, and she talked about how one thing that stands out in UK's education is that there is no distinction between a distance, a student coming out from a distance learning education and from a face-to-face learning education. I think that sets out a very, very clear sort of perception as well as quality standard that if you are a student of a UK university, it doesn't matter which form of education system you're coming from. The rigors of quality, the rigors of process, and in terms of even recognition, I mean, I can tell you that some of the very, very high-ranking policy officials in UK, they've come from online and distance learning education systems, and they are sitting next to people who are coming from the face-to-face education system. So, what I'm trying to say is that if India has to sort of see, itself sort of going ahead, there has to be a concerted effort in terms of lowering the levels of perception that somebody is coming from an online education system is slightly different or better or otherwise vis-a-vis when you talk about face-to-face education. I think that is really, really an important area where we need to put our efforts. I also want to kind of sort of give you a couple of examples how British Council has been working in this area with the government of India. So year before last, we gave 7 grants in terms of through our Going Global Partnership Program, where we wanted to sort of see how collaboration between online university degree programs in UK and also online degree programs in India can come together. What has been the experience? So we were very, very surprised. I mean, it's been 2 years, and we've seen that there are collaborations that are sort of taking forward the agenda in terms of quality assurance. There are collaboration agreements that have come forward in terms of how do we design programs that are sort of looking at today's 21st century learning needs of students. Gone are the days where you could record a lecture and you can sort of relay it and call it an online education system. So we are looking at how does transformative technologies like AR, VR, artificial intelligence can be used to bring about creativity into the classrooms, can have a better engagement facilities in classrooms, and also we work very closely with the industry setups. I think that also is a very important area where we need to see that there is an uptake from industry in terms of people who are coming out of online and distance learning education. So we work closely with industry setups, the edtech companies, and trying to create opportunities for students who are coming out of online and degree programs. So we are seeing a great uptrend in terms of how there is going to be a bridging of gap between online and face-to-face education through new use of technologies. Also, I think it's very important to look at how can we see the next 5 years or 10 years of our sort of progress journey in terms of how we look at collaborations. So British universities have been in this area for long, and we have global centers of learning. We are imparting global degree programs throughout the world, and they are recognized. So I think if I had to sort of lay down 5 areas in terms of how we can look at this collaboration and this important area to be delivering its mandate, it will be policy reforms. I think we need to look at the comprehensive review of policies. And currently, we don't have an area where international collaboration can be facilitated for fully online programs. We would sort of continue to work with the government apparatus and also with the education networks to create a body of knowledge where we showcase, what are the, successful operating models that can be applied. I mean, in UK, there are universities who are delivering life-to-lab programs where you are teaching cutting-edge STEM courses, and I have my colleague Tony sitting there, he will vouch for me, that there are programs that can be delivered very effectively to teach STEM programs, creative programs, and also areas which are in fine arts as well. So I think there is a need to look at horizon widening in terms of how we can look at collaborations. We need to also start focusing to review our design of the programs of online and distance learning programs. Children, particularly at young age, we do see that there is a great amount of interface of technology that a lot of students are coming out nowadays. So we need to see how we can engage technology as well as learner-centric strategies to make sure that there is an element of sort of completion as well as quality at the center of learning what we are delivering in the classrooms today through online and distance learning. We also can look at areas where universities, online and distance universities doesn't need necessarily to be very academic. You need to look out what are the needs of industry and create, let's say, short-term credit courses, micro-learning courses. So then you will also be able to pull in some bit of industry engagement, investment into your systems. And that also will be an opportunity for you to see when a student comes out of your university, what is the readiness and preparedness of that student to be part of the industry and growth and economy thereby. There is also a great need of strengthening international collaboration consortiums between universities overseas, and UK has a very strong expertise in that. So we are part of the International Collaboration Consortium that was just launched yesterday. And we will be very happy to look at how we can share our expertise, best practices, in terms of looking at what possibilities emerge in the next 5 years. And at the same time, I think it's very important to sort of see this opportunity not to look at it from a very critical sense of the term that, I want to correct everything that's possible, but line up strategy in terms of, micro steps. Whereas you start with a journey keeping in mind that this is a process where I'm part of, and a continuous excellence process will unfold itself. So these are some of the thoughts that I wanted to share with you, and I'll be very happy to take up very specific questions. Thank you very much, panel, as well as Dr. Payal Mang, to sort of invite me for this panel session. I'll be here around for offline chat as well. Thank you very much.
I think what has happened that we have very limited time for interaction and or questions. I would like to give a brief. Because of that, a slight change in the process so that we stick to the time and you have enough time for having a break. This is a long session. And if you really have specific questions, please reach out to the speakers, esteemed speakers, and have one-to-one conversation with them at that time. We're sorry we're not taking questions at this time, and we request all of you to have one-to-one questions with colleagues. I don't think we'll have time. Let's see. I'm very strict on time. I don't want a time overlays. But I would like to emphasize few things as the session winds up. A few important things to look at. From our perspective, we're looking at the policy, talking about the guidelines in a broader context and want to change. But we need to remember one important thing before we actually start looking into nitty-gritties. It is called intentions versus unintention, in my view. We have very good intention. We want to stop the bad players, but in the process, we stop the good players. This is one thing that happens. The second thing, unintentional things that happen, is that through the process, we perpetuate a class-based system for which all of us in this building and all of us want to a classless society. But we perpetuate a class-based system in the whole process, whatever we do. Think about that. Within that broad intention versus unintention thing, there are a lot of things I want to emphasize. The ODL system in this country is the first one to talk about quality assurance and quality. That means the system of open and distance learning were conscious about quality education from the very beginning. Okay. In 1991, the Distance Education Council was formed as a part of the Act of Indira Gandhi National Open University Act. The National Assessment and Accreditation Council came 3 years later as the history one. Second important point to look at, whatever happens in the classroom is not judged by anyone in the face-to-face system. But the pedagogy of open and distance learning is questioned by a group of people sitting somewhere else. Okay, we need to look at these things. The current regulation is very robust, very detailed. Okay, it's 54 pages. But we need to look at, are we really looking at doing those things and implementing those things carefully? And do we really need it today? Now, as Professor Kumar said, that we just put it in a Gen AI system and it will tell you how to tweak it. So why do we need such a robust system? You know, like Mr. Tripathi said, why can't we have a uniform system? Why do we need separate things? You know, why can't we have a common understanding of standards, which BVSE is now talking about? So there is a shift coming, but the shift is very slow. Think about from a perspective of National Education Policy 2020. Think deeply. Can we achieve a 50% GR by 2035 by any calculation? Anybody would give me that calculation where we will reach? Why do we aspire for something we are not able to achieve it? And if we want to achieve it, what are the steps that we would like to take to achieve it? Can we stop distance education in several disciplines and achieve GR? Or if we allow and then do it, it will at least we will say that we have made an attempt to achieve. Okay? The NEP talks about tight but light regulatory system. In distance and online learning, we have a light but the NEP talks about light but tight, but distance education we have tight but light. We squeeze everything and make it for elite people, and then we don't even look at what is happening. So what is important is to allow people to flourish, let thousands, think of a situation that we have 1,200 universities. If each university apply for one program to be evaluated by the UGC, how much time it will take? To how many committees it will have to form and how many things to do. So realistic regulation is very important. In that context, I think there are several questions we need to ask ourselves as intellectuals, group of intellectuals. This is not criticism of anyone. This is criticism of ourselves, me, myself first, then anybody else. I am part of this country. महाभारती के सामने हम बात कर रहे हैं, तो उसके उत्थान के लिए बात करेंगे. We will talk about the growth of the India as a country and nothing beyond that. So let's ask few questions. Does the regulation play the role of an enabler? Professor Chakrapani talked about that. Is the process efficient and effective? Whatever we are doing, is it efficient and effective? Does it support the implementation of NEP 2020 and the vision of Vikasit Bharat 2047? Should it really interfere in the autonomy of higher education institutions? Because programs are academic council's jurisdiction. Should not the regulation focus on accrediting higher education institutions rather than recognizing programs? Think about these questions. While you think about these kind of things, now there are a lot of things that needs to be relooked while we are revising or upgrading or doing something new under the VVSA. What programs are prohibited and why should we prohibit those things? During the pandemic, for 2 years, all doctors, lawyers, everybody studied through distance education, online learning. And they are eligible doctors and lawyers. We must rethink what kind of double standards we want to play. Way back in 2001, I don't want to tell about myself, 2001 I wrote a small piece about online learning, and there I wrote online learning is the new age distance education. No, there is no difference in distance education and online learning in true sense. Distance education is a technology mediated education system, and why do we create two separate streams of policies? Restricting things, I cannot use online in distance education. I can't use face-to-face in online learning. I don't understand. Barriers of entry. Which institutions will be able to offer? Okay, we have a specific rules, regulations on that. Of course, others can also join through application process. We need to think about. At many places you will see in the regulation, if you have read the 54 pages, it uses a term called instructional design. Okay, and students of education read carefully whether that explanation is correct or not. It confuses program design with instructional design. Then another thing comes about in the policy. You can have up to 60% of materials developed by your institution, and rest you can take from other institutions and open educational resources. Why? Why do you want to duplicate all institutions to prepare materials? Public institutions spend money, public money to create educational resources. Make it open. Make it open, everything open educational resources. Let other institutions use that to offer programs of their own. Simple. Focus on educational student engagement. Quality will come from student engagement, not from learning materials alone. So, and even if let's give a practical example, even if you say percentage of what? Percentage of the program, percentage of the course, percentage of a lesson. How do you decide about that 40% coming from somewhere else? Very, very disturbing things. In 2009, I, along with Professor Panda, developed a program called Postgraduate Diploma in E-Learning. 100% OER based, small enrollment program because we wanted to experiment. And in the first batch, all major corporate education technology providers were students in our program. The program ran for 4 years, completely OER based. So the idea is that you can have national resources and every institution can use their national resources, focus on student support and student engagement in delivery, quality will improve on its own. The regulation has major problems. One thing, these are all observations, okay? I will have one point to tell, that is my serious issue in this regulation. The regulation is very clear, telling that you need a director, you need 3 professors, you need 2 technicians, blah, 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 blah. All those things are there. But it doesn't tell the qualifications. What competencies these people are need to have. We don't want people, qualified people, having competence in open and distance learning to run this show. If not a pre-entry qualifications, can we not specify professional development capacities program for these people who are doing 28 days training on open and distance learning must for these people, or something like that? No, capacity building of these people managing open and distance learning is must if you want to improve quality of open and distance learning. My strong belief is this, that if you want to improve quality, if you want to improve the quality of people who are managing open and distance learning systems in the country. And I think everyone, we need people like Professor Kumar, who has been very strong supporter of open and distance learning. You know, we need leaders, not just the people who work in the system, the director, associate director, professor, lecturers, but senior management people need to have clear understanding of the philosophy of open and distance learning. Increasing access at low cost without compromising quality of education. I think if we focus on these kind of things, we will be able to create a clearer, sharper, shorter, less manipulative regulation for ourselves, self-regulation. Before UGC or somebody else looks at, I will urge everyone who are present here in this conference, who are leaders in their own institutions, to self-regulate themselves using these 3 principles, philosophical principles. Quality will emerge automatically. I think I will stop here, and we have exceeded the time limit, but with due apologies to the chair, I will request him to conclude in 2 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Raji, for an excellent sum up. There is a special request from Chakrapani Garu for 60 seconds.
Yes, sir.
So he's eating away our tea, eh? So 60 seconds.
I'm not responsible.
No,
I mean,
Chakrapani
after
Garu.
listening so
60 seconds, then I'll
speeches,
take 60 seconds, then go for tea, huh? We still have time.
Conclusion of, Sanjay Mishra. I would like to bring to your notice 3 important restrictions. Number 1, as I said, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University got approval for B.Ed programs from NCTE for till 2027. But in 2025 there was no vice chancellor, and something happened, they issued notification. UGC stopped it. Though we have NCTE permission, they said without applying to us, how can you issue notification? Believe me, 500 learners who enrolled, we stopped, freezed that admission, and now we are begging them to at least you continue them now. That is one example I would like to give. And second, as Professor Mishra said, very recently we want to introduce MA education program. So for January purpose, we entered an MOU, legal MOU with Mysore Karnataka State Open University, and we uploaded that to, along with the MOU copy, to UGC. UGC said you cannot take any other open university, though that is also public open university. and they are running that course. They said, no, you have to develop 40% from you.
60%.
Yeah, 60% you have to do. And why should I, I mean, there is no time, that's why. Sir, fine, that is second. And earlier we had, such kind of facility. We even lended material to IGNOU, and we took material from IGNOU. And third, there is a very strict regulation that, for every program and every department should have 5 people, as sir said, 1 professor, 2 assistants and 2 associate, all that. 5 years back, we recruited all 5 people in psychology. 5 people in psychology. Now they said psychology is no more. I mean, then what can I do? I mean, shall I send them to home or terminate them? It is again a legal problem. I mean, why you are coming and suddenly saying, no, you should not offer this course? Then what about that faculty? The same with education also. 1 year without course, I paid salaries for 5 regular teachers. And they are insisting regular teacher. When we appointed regular teacher, we don't know when they close down the course. And with this kind of, all these are empirical. Of course, everybody, you faced that, kind of situation. These kind of restrictions are really, putting a lot of pressure on us. Out of that pressure only we are discussing. I really enjoyed the, supportive lecture of, from Sanjay Mishra. He was so emotional while bringing this, because these people nurtured distance education and, placed it in the national, map. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. When you said NCT, I was a little disturbed because it may come on me. So, but then when I said B.Ed would be 2 years, 1.4 million students, they
Yes.
study student teachers every year, B.Ed 2 years. Masters then chairman UGC said masters has to be 2 years, then MA 2 years, 4 years. Then if you do a BSc 3 years, B.Ed 2 years, then masters 2 years. My goodness, by the time somebody would have become a deputy manager in MBA, you see. So all kinds of things. Then of course we changed. Hats off to then UGC chairman and the then Secretary Education, Government of India, that we said that a 5 years program you can credit courses, you can complete in 4 years. If in a face-to-face situation that's possible, why not in distance learning? A 5 years program, credit hours can be completed. So friends, thank you very much. I'll just take 2 minutes, and then we'll still have 15 minutes for tea. We don't want to kill paper presentations. That's API, academic performance, isn't it? CAS and API. What is paper presentation, by the way? So this is API and CAS. We had excellent deliberations over here. Each one of them, I very sincerely thank Professor Kumar, thank Surji, very senior and well experienced. And I'm pretty sure he had not prepared his presentation through AI. So to dig out what is not there, what should not be. And Professor Chakrapani and Dr. Tripathi, Mr. Tripathi, very crisp and excellent deliberations. In fact, after British, to be a little politically correct, after British engagement, we have now EU engagement. So both joining together, so we are moving more towards. Why I said that? Let me, Dr. Mishra, finally I'll thank you. So let me sum up. We started correspondence education with the help of the erstwhile USSR. Our Open University system got flourished with the British Open University system. Then we had quality assurance and NAC based on the American system, very diversified, self-appraisal, all kinds of things. Then finally we are getting into quality assurance, of course was American, benchmarking, more particularly, of course, the Commonwealth of Learning and the Nordic countries. So ICT becomes very important. I understand what I'm saying. So excellent quality assurance mechanisms that they have, and also Commonwealth of Learning. So with these, now we should all consolidate together, as Rajendra Babu rightly said, that we must develop, and Mr. Raji also said, he was a little, that's why he said he emotional. when you talk about death, मैं दस वक्त हूँ तो मैं emotional हो जाता हूँ. You see, so he said that let's develop our Indian model. That's what Bharatiya model. Let us get all these USSR, yeah, important. UK, OU, USA, now the Nordic, and for us the Commonwealth of Learning. So to sum up what I said, and finally I will just place what the Commonwealth of Learning is doing, by the way, for us. NEP 20, to sum up, I'm not presenting anything from my side. So to sum up, NEP 2020, National Credit Framework 2023. They are the final. Nobody can take them away. Government is not going to change. So therefore, this has to be implemented in the country. So, okay. So, we could change apne kar diya. So, therefore, NEP 2020 and CRF 2023 are the excellent documents available so far in the world. So therefore, we need to proceed with that, multidisciplinarity, multiple entry and exit, blended teaching learning, recognition of prior learning, skilling, employability, and of course NCRF has finally settled, it's a legal document, finally passed in the parliament. So finally settled the parity of ST. और कोई लेता है, नहीं लेता है, क्या करता है, क्या नहीं करता है industry, but then parity of esteem once for all is done, nobody can go to the court of law. And after NCRF, nobody actually has gone to the court of law. And before that, plenty of cases within the court of law. So that is one. Second, there was a deliberation that access programs, आपने कहा public universities खुला कर दीजिए. I'm just giving one example. NIRF 100, no UGC approval is needed. I just give one example. When this ITEP program started, Integrated Teacher Education, 4 years after +2, senior secondary, IITs were given. I don't know what IITs have to do with teacher education, by the way. So when you say NIRF 100 can be given distance learning programs, none of these NIRF have any experience in distance learning. And no approval is needed, fully online. Of course, for certificate diploma, you don't need any approval. Access and outcome. There was a very, very interesting deliberation that why restrict access? Why not emphasize the outcome and therefore ensure the process? That's what has come up. So therefore, why restrict access? The market will decide. The regulations are to protect ourselves, those who regulate, by the way. I'm the regulator. I'm telling what I'm saying. So, I mean what I'm saying. So therefore, you have to restrict to protect. This is too bureaucratic within court. And for that matter, I have been also bureaucrat. So you have to be able. When I joined the NCT, my secretary told me in briefing, there's a briefing, it's 5 minutes, it took 1 hour. He said, Santos, now you have been a professor, now you have to behave like a bureaucrat. Oh my goodness. So NCT obviously became bureaucratic. Instead of professor, they became bureaucratic. So therefore, access and outcome, why not, as Dr. Misra rightly said, quality assurance benchmarks we need to develop. So therefore he said, light and tight, tight versus light. So let us say, light, the entire thing, tight in monitoring. This is what is coming up. Of course, to do that, I know, NAC, if you do that, even a strict monitoring mechanism, you need infrastructure, people, and so on and so forth. There was an issue raised, industry, partnership, 21st century skills, and all kinds of things. So even if face-to-face is not doing 21st century, how distance learning will do 21st century? It will be one benchmark only and one credit framework. I always repeat, National Credit Framework 2023. We are all governed by that. So therefore, our regulations will be governed by that. When you say GR 50%, and there is no government grant. In fact, in some of the dual mode universities that they fund, they in fact meet the salary requirements of the face-to-face teachers. There are many. Who earn money. You are not reinvesting in the system itself. So, government grant, they say you have to earn your own money. Distance learning has to earn its own money, and face-to-face will get government grant. And if you are a private, you are none of these two. So this is a very, very interesting development. So friends, finally, to conclude this, there was a question of separate vertical. I understand that there might be a separate vertical. You see, I could do my job very well at NCTE with every fifth of every month, there is a meeting of UC chairman, NCT chairman, and the secretary, government of India. If there is a need, because school secretary, that's teacher education, if there is a need, higher education secretary will join in every month. 5 minutes, 10 minutes, half an hour, 1 hour. We could resolve everything across the board. The regulators do not see eye to eye each other. So therefore, we need an alternative vertical. So for distance learning. And distance learning, for me, it is blended learning. Face to face, everything is blended learning. As they say, God bless America, be happy, don't worry, be happy. You see, blended learning. If it is a regulation of blended learning, you do your, but there is one regulation of blended learning. I heads up to SEMCA, Commonwealth of Learning, that they have developed the blended learning model and policy for this country, but still it's lying there. So we need to pick it up, blended learning. I will finally conclude, because Dr. Tony, Professor Tony is here, so Tony has developed finally and coming up, I think we have to seriously take it forward, the business model for open and distance and blended learning and online learning. Finally, I understand business model will be coming up very soon. It will be published very soon. The business model, because why this business model? Everybody, all stakeholders are included in that. The parents, the students, the employers, the accreditors, the testers like NTA, and a whole lot of people are involved. And so also the government, the funders are involved in this. Institutional delivery context, there are a few indicators. Institutional delivery context and model. 2, organization management and leadership. 3, access and equity. 4, teaching, learning, pedagogy, and so on and so forth. 5, learning resources. 6, skilling and employability. 7, technology. 8, assessment. 9, recognition of prior learning, RPL, accreditation and credit transfer, including international credit transfer. 10, budgeting, pricing, and costing needs to be very seriously done with the help of the government. And final, collaboration and networking. So, friends, thank you very much. Interesting, I'm pretty sure our NAC director has also jotted down. As pointed out earlier, I think Professor Chakrapani pointed out that now the new consortium has been formulated. So all these things as recommendations should get into these are serious deliberations that have happened here. I don't think anything is left out insofar as a regular. It's a question of nitty-gritties and so many pages of documents, and every page you will find something that I don't agree, all kinds of things. But as a whole, as a matter of policy, I think we should recommend to, and this is the right time, I'm pretty sure Sadaji continues as the head of the new regulatory, new committee for new regulation, Dr. Kalsi, who had been with the Minister of Skilling and Entrepreneurship. I had a personal excellent discussion with him, but then you can't, there is a limit, so you can't do much unless the government says that yes, new regulation has to come up, so it has to come up. I think things are ready. So with these interventions that are coming up, new developments that have happened, I think we should get into. Aap taali isliye baja rahe ho, chai thanda ho raha. So thank you very much. Thank you very much, friends. Thank you very much. And thanks to all panelists, and special thanks to Dr. Misra, who facilitated and coordinated this presentation. And each one of you, thank you very much. And special thanks to, again, Professor Payal Margoji for excellent arrangement, organization, pre-conference workshop. मैं तो मैसेज भेज दिया था. So pre-conference workshop, ये कहना जरूरी, इसमें ठंडा नहीं होगा. So ये कहना जरूरी है. Pre-conference workshop, yesterday, inauguration, excellent. The Honorable Minister's speech, Vice Chancellor's speech, excellent. So, you see, and even today, so far so good. So, thank you once again. So, thank you once again. Let's join for tea. Give a big hand to the panelists. And special thanks to Abhilasha.